1. On the vanity and suffering of life. Awakened to life out of the night of unconsciousness, the will finds itself as an individual in an endless and boundless world, among innumerable individuals, all striving, suffering, and erring, and, as if through a troubled dream, it hurries back to the old unconsciousness. Yet till then, its desires are unlimited, its claims inexhaustible, and every satisfied desire gives birth to a new one. No possible satisfaction in the world could suffice to still its craving, set a final goal to its demands, and fill the bottomless pit of its heart. In this connection, let us now consider what, as a rule, comes to people in satisfactions of any kind. It is often nothing more than the bare maintenance of this very existence, exhorted daily with unremitting effort and constant care in conflict with misery and want, and with death in prospect. Everything in life that earthly happiness is destined to be frustrated or recognized as an illusion. The grounds for this lie deep in the very nature of things. Accordingly, the lives of most people prove troubled and short. The comparatively happy are often only apparently so, or else, like those of long life, they are rare exceptions. The possibilities of these still had to be left, as decoy birds. Life presents itself as a continual deception, in small matters as well as great. If it is promised, it does not keep its word, unless to show how little desirable the desired object was. Hence, we are deluded now by hope, now by what was hoped for. If it has given, it did so in order to take. The enchantment of distance shows us paradises that vanish like optical illusions, when we have allowed ourselves to be fooled by them. Accordingly, happiness lies always in the future, or else in the past, and the present may be compared to a small dark cloud driven by the wind over the sunny plain. In front of and behind the cloud everything is bright, only itself always casts a shadow. Consequently, the present is always inadequate, but the future is uncertain, and the past irrecoverable. With its misfortunes, small, greater, and great, occurring hourly, daily, weekly, yearly, and with its deluded hopes and accidents bringing all calculations to naught, life bears so clearly the stamp of something which ought to disgust us, that it is difficult to conceive how anyone could fail to recognize this, and be persuaded that life is here to be thankfully enjoyed, and that human beings exist in order to be happy. On the contrary, that continual deception and disillusionment, as well as the general nature of life, present themselves as intended and calculated to awaken the conviction that nothing whatever is worth our exertions, our efforts, and our struggles, that all good things are empty and fleeting, that the world on all its sides is bankrupt, and that life is a business that does not cover the costs, so that our will may turn away from it. The way in which this vanity of all objects of the will makes itself known and comprehensible to the intellect that is rooted in the individual is primarily time. It is the form by whose means that vanity of things appears to their transitoriness, since by virtue of all this our pleasures and enjoyments come to naught in our hands, and afterwards we ask in astonishment where they have remained. Hence, that vanity itself is the only objective element of time. In other words, that which corresponds to it in the inner nature of things, and so that which it is the expression. For this reason, time is the a priori necessary form of all our perceptions. Everything must present itself in time, even we ourselves. Consequently, our life is primarily like a payment made to us in nothing but copper coins, for which we must then give a receipt. The coins are the days, and the receipt is death. For in the end, time proclaims the judgment of nature on the worth of all beings that appear in it, since it destroys them. And justly so, for all things from the void called forth deserve to be destroyed. 'Twere better, then, were not created. Thus, old age and death, to which every life necessarily hurries, are a sentence of condemnation on the will to live which comes from the hands of nature itself. It states that this will is a striving that is bound to frustrate itself. What you have willed, it says, ends thus: will something better. Therefore, the instruction afforded to everyone by their life consists on a whole in the fact that the objects of one's desires constantly delude, totter, and fall, that in consequence they bring more misery than joy, until at last even the whole foundation on which they stand collapses, since one's life is itself destroyed. Thus, one obtains the final confirmation that all striving and willing was a perversity, a path of error. Then old age and experience, hand in hand, lead him to death and make him understand, after a search so painful and long, that all his life he has been in the wrong. But I wish to go into the matter in more detail, for it is these views in which I have met with most contradiction. First of all, I have to confirm by the following remarks the proof given in the text of the negative nature of all satisfaction, and hence of all pleasure and happiness, in opposition to the positive nature of pain. We feel pain, but not painlessness; care, but not freedom from care; fear, but not safety and security. We feel the desire as we feel hunger and thirst, but as soon as it has been satisfied, it is like the mouthful of food which has been taken, and which ceases to exist for our feelings the moment it is swallowed. We painfully feel the loss of pleasures and enjoyments as soon as they fail to appear, but when pains cease, even after being present for a long time, their absence is not directly felt, but at most they are thought of intentionally by means of reflection. For only pain and want can be felt positively, and therefore they proclaim themselves. Well-being, on the contrary, is merely negative. Therefore, we do not become conscious of the three greatest blessings of life as such, namely health, youth, and freedom, as long as we possess them, but only after we have lost them, for they, too, are negations. We notice that certain days of our lives were happy only after they made room for unhappy ones. In proportion as enjoyments and pleasures increase, susceptibility to them decreases. That to which we are accustomed is no longer felt as a pleasure, but in precisely this way is the susceptibility to suffering increased, for the cessation of that to which we are accustomed is felt painfully. Thus, the measure of what is necessary increases through possession, and thereby the capacity to feel pain. The hours pass, the more quickly and more pleasantly they are spent, and the more slowly and more painfully they are spent, since pain, not pleasure, is the positive thing, whose presence makes itself felt. In just the same way, we become conscious of time when we are bored, not when we are amused. Both cases prove that our existence is happy when we perceive it least. From this it follows that it would be better not to have it. Great and animated delight can be positively conceived only as a consequence of great misery that has preceded it, for nothing can be added to a state of permanent contentment, except some amusement or even the satisfaction of vanity. Therefore, all poets are obliged to bring their heroes into anxious and painful situations, in order to be able to liberate them therefrom again. Accordingly, dramas and epics generally describe only fighting, suffering, tormented individuals, and every work of fiction is a peep show in which we observe the spasms and convulsions of the agonized human heart. Sir Walter Scott has naively set forth this aesthetic necessary in the conclusion to his novel Old Mortality. Voltaire, so highly favored by nature and good fortune, also says, entirely in agreement with the truth I have demonstrated, "Happiness is only a dream, and pain is real. I have experienced this for 80 years. I know of nothing better than to resign myself to this and say that flies are born to be eaten by spiders, and human beings are to be devoured by trouble and affliction.